Hello guys, and welcome back to our channel. I welcome you to our channel where we take a look into the toughest topics, and today is one of those days. Now today we're tackling a crucial question that's often overlooked in the conversation around segregation. I know I have been posting videos of late on this topic where palm color people are reacting and my black community is reacting on this topic. What is going to happen when segregation starts? But I don't think a lot of people have thought about what is going to happen to mixed or biracial people when this starts. What happens to biracial kids and marriages? Now, as the issue of segregation continues to gain momentum, I feel it's very important that we consider the implications for those who don't fit neatly into one category because they are both. Now, we will explore this issue through a historical lens, examining the legacy of the one-drop rule in the United States. This rule dictated that even a single drop of African American blood made you black in the eyes of society. So join me as we take a look into this thought-provoking discussion featuring insights from a sister who sheds light on the past and its impact on the present. Now, she talks about a lot of things in the first video, so make sure to watch the videos until the very end. We'll also hear from biracial individuals who share their personal experiences and perspectives on identity, community, and belonging. So make sure to watch these videos until the very end, as this conversation is just the starting point for a deeper exploration of what it means to be biracial in a world that often demands clear categories. So with that said, let's get into it. I will be right back.
I've been seeing a lot of comments very similar to this one. This one says, what about the mixed children? This is a very nuanced topic, and so I will try my best to do it justice. First things first, I would like to be able to give you a disclaimer. I am fully African American. I do not have any I myself am not biracial. And I think that that's a first place to start, because the biracial narrative, the biracial story, is one that I can only relate half to, because I am black, and black alone. I think that for those that are biracial, this is your platform as well. I believe that you should be able to say your truth as well, say your experiences, because they are also very valuable. Now, from a historical context, as we know in the United States, there was the one-drop rule, right? And the one-drop rule was that if you had one drop of African American in you, one drop of black, one drop of slave blood, then you were considered black. And that's how they treated you, was as a black person, not as a biracial person, right? But as a black person. Thing number two is this: within the African American community, biracial people or white passing people, these are two different types of biracial people, right? For the most part, those that are white passing do tend to be biracial. And they were also very important to the advancement of African Americans, and to the advancement of civil rights and any other initiative that was working towards the freedom of a marginalized group, specifically African Americans, right? And why were they important? When it comes down to being a part of a movement, two things are very important: the message and the messenger. The reason why biracial people were very important is because if you are white passing, that means that you are invited into places and spaces where people that look like me may not have been invited. And it was then your obligation to find information, or to make relationships, or develop an understanding of what is going on the other side, for you then to come back to the black community to say, this is what's going on. This is what we should be preparing for. So your voice is very, very necessary, but something that everyone should consider as we are all seeking to work together to unify ourselves, to help us through what's currently going on in America, is that two things are important: the message and the messenger. This is something that the civil rights had down to a science. When we talk about what happened with Rosa Parks and the bus boycott, right? This was actually, the bus boycotts were happening all over, right? But there was a reason why Rosa Parks was selected. It was because she was the right messenger for that moment. And that's why history records her instance more than anyone else's, even though hers was not the only one. We cannot get hung up on who the messenger is, because I may have the message, but if it's going to be best received through somebody else, you must give it to someone else. In order for the advancement of any type of movement, the message and the messenger is very, very important. And when it comes down to the messenger having to give the message, you must allow them to give the message in a way that will be received. You have to remember that you're not going to agree with 100% of anything that anyone says. But if we nitpick the parts where we disagree within the message, it dilutes the message. Of course, if you're the messenger, you want to make sure that you have the most accurate message as possible. But if you are the messenger and those that are part of the movement, you are supposed to support the messenger. You're supposed to support the means and the ways that things are supposed to be done. Very similar to the way that Congress works. Hear me, this is very important. When it comes down to voting for people in Congress, they are a messenger. You as the voter, you tell them the message that they're supposed to be given. If the messenger is not committed to delivering the message, you switch messengers. If you are not understanding what I'm telling you, I will say it very plainly. If your congressperson, if your senator, if your congressman or woman, the representative that's in the House of Representatives, that's both at the federal and the state level, if the governor, if the mayor, if the deputy mayor, if the attorney general, whomever is in government, they are a messenger to carry the message of their constituents. If they are not carrying your message, switch them out. Switch them out. So going back to mixed children and those that are of mixed heritage, you are important. You carry a message. But I don't want you to feel like you cannot give the message and you have to then wait on someone else to be able to carry your message, because they won't do your message justice. You have to be willing to put yourself out there to carry the message for those that you represent. Because I don't know the full message. I don't know the full impact. I am only African American. Okay, so if you're biracial, mixed with any races, right? You could be white and Asian. You can be black and Asian. You can be white and black. You could be Hispanic and black. It doesn't matter what the mixture is. You represent more than just yourself within that mixture. Add your voice to the narrative. Be that representative. Because you don't have to be overlooked. But if you want someone else to support you that's not from the collective of which you identify from, it will be very difficult. They will try their best to be able to represent you, but they will fall short. And that's something that you should remember.
I saw a biracial girl on Facebook say that if segregation was to come back, which side do I sit on? Simply because you had to even ask that question, just go over there with them. Go on over there with them and have fun. Good luck, because let me tell you something. I mixed as well, but I identify as black and I can do what I want. If y'all can identify as a toaster or a cloud, don't worry about me. When people ask what I am, I say black. And then they're like, and what? And leave me alone. That's what else. I mixed with a whole lot of game about that. Anywho, back to the point. Back when I was a lot younger, like elementary school, I was never black enough for black girls. But let me tell you something. You think you wasn't black enough for the black girls, baby, you will never be white enough for. You're not white. I know we got the jokes when we was younger, like, oh, if you would have been a slave, you'd have been inside the house and this and that and blah blah. Them white people do not look at me as a white person. Trust me, I know. I've been mixed my whole life. But yeah, go ahead. Like, thinking you get to pick and your daddy is African American is beyond me. Now you ain't got no side. You alone. So just eat at home. Dummy.
Segregation is all over TikTok news. And I just have one question. Interracial, Trump-supporting couples, one black, one white. How do you feel about segregation? Hypothetically speaking, one of you goes to the hospital or gets sick. One goes to one waiting room, one goes to the other waiting room. How do you feel about that? What if you have kids? What school do they go to? What waiting room do they go to? What bathroom do they go to? What fountain do they drink out of? No, for real. How do y'all feel about that? Because y'all Trump supporters and it was all good until y'all are not so together during segregation. So I really want to know how you feel as far as like interracial couples, one black, one white, about this whole segregation thing as a Trump supporter.
The most confusing thing in my life, it was worse when I was a child, but it's still prevalent today because these two things are not equal, is being black and white. I'm biracial, I'm 50-50, and I don't want to be, really. When I was a kid, I was like, I'm white. And now I'm like, I'm black. I'm not white. And I be light-skinned. I'm a light-skinned girly. I wish I was darker, let me tell you. It's so confusing. It's so confusing. Like, it's just, I don't even know how to explain it. Do other biracial people feel this way? Because, oh my God. Oh my God.
And since we segregated people, my kids half white, so they're going with their daddy, right? I mean, he wasn't paying child support before. He wasn't doing nothing before. So, they going with him. I'm just saying, they half white. They half white.
All right, team interracial and team interethnic, come to the front of the line. Because no matter how you slice it, we don't get to choose. We have to stand in solidarity. We already crossed the line in the sand because we can't choose. We're both. Now, what I need to hear from the full-blooded people of color, what are we doing? When you use blank-only signs in retaliation, because as mixed people, we're not going into white-only establishments, never. It's just not happening. But is my friend, who's half black and half white, is he going to be allowed to go to the cookout, as it were? I already know that, like, Latino spaces are going to be like, go pound sand to me because I'm not enough. I've already been told by full-blooded Latino cousins in the past that I'm an abomination. So if you're half white, half black, if you are half Asian, half Latino, whatever the mix that you are, what are we doing? Because seriously, the rhetoric on TikTok from people who are pure blood is getting ugly.
Y'all, I just want y'all to know that since segregation has been, whatever Trump said, I don't really care. I was all for it anyway. But look at my aunt and uncle in an interracial marriage, right? They did not vote for Kamala, but they also did not vote for Trump. But they did not vote for Kamala simply because they did not agree with him. So now that segregation is here, I can't wait to see drama ensue. Stay tuned.
I am sitting here drinking my water, minding my business. I like to find my girl Erica. You gotta do both. It's essential. You gotta do both. Right. But inquiring mind, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, when this segregation starts, and it's this day and age, there's a lot of mixed families, black and white, whether the dad is black and the mom is white, or the mom is white and the dad is black. Where do the mixed kids go? Like, is it that they have black in them, so they're going to be put, segregated on the black side? Or what happens with the mixed child?
So you mean to tell me I can't go out to eat at a restaurant no more with my mama and my daddy because we going back to segregation? I mean, they don't like each other anyway, so I guess it's fine. But what side of the restaurant do I sit on? Am I allowed?
Now, the conversation around segregation often overlooks a crucial group: biracial individuals and families. As society navigates the complexities of racial division, I feel it's important to consider the experiences of those who don't fit neatly into one category. The historical context of the one-drop rule in the United States is particularly relevant. Now, this rule, which deemed anyone with even a single drop of African American blood as black, highlights the arbitrary nature of racial classification. Like, it's a reminder that racial identity is often imposed upon individuals rather than chosen by them. Now, the perspectives of biracial individuals offer valuable insight into the complexities of identity and belonging. Many share experiences of being rejected by both palm color and black communities, leaving them feeling isolated and without a clear sense of belonging. Now, one striking comment from a biracial individual stands out. I identify as black because I know palm color people don't see me as palm color. And this statement underscores the painful reality that racial identity is often dictated by external perceptions rather than personal identity. I just want to share an article titled Biracial Identity Complications During the Civil Rights Movement, which I feel is going to help us understand everything. Now, racial and gender alienation triggered cultural difficulties for many, which caused people to feel out of place. A sense of belonging comes from similarities in identity, but differences in racial features and gender had people segregate. For example, in Funny House of a Black Person by Adrienne Kennedy, Sarah, the main character, was discriminated during the civil rights movement simply for being an African American and a woman. To be more specific, she was biracial, meaning that she was both palm color and black, which made it more difficult for her to find her identity. Thus, individuals like her were faced with hardships regarding segregation and discrimination, but also expectations that symbolizes the prejudice. For instance, Sarah was expected to maintain natural hair in order to meet the standards of how people defined African American women. Although some suffered for being black or female, Sarah, who represented Adrienne Kennedy, had to deal with all of the above. Now, historically, the one-drop rule was used to determine who was black in the United States, but currently, this rule is associated with antiquated ideology. Now, in the past, the one-drop rule denoted that a single drop of African or black blood made a person black. Yet, despite the rule's seemingly scientific stance on racial definition, it had much more to do with discriminatory ideas and political motivations than it did with biological analysis. Now, the one-drop rule, in fact, had nothing to do with science. It was a social rule. Under this rule, a person was either black or not black. Multiracial status did not matter. And ultimately, the rule was based on false theories of palm color superiority and racial purity. Now, also known as the one black ancestor rule, the traceable amount rule, the black ancestry, and especially by anthropologists, the hypodescent rule, the one-drop rule, developed in the 1700s as a way for palm color American society to deal with miscegenation, which was defined as the interbreeding of people from different races. Now, miscegenation was viewed as a problem since it complicated palm color society's ability to distinguish people's races by skin color alone. Yet, despite laws prohibiting interracial marriage and relations, the mixture of races persisted. Accordingly, hypodescent was a practice that allowed lawmakers to define racially mixed persons as subordinate. Now, the practice of hypodescent began with the colonization of the Americas. In 1630, shortly after the first English and African settlement in the U.S. was established, a palm color man was sentenced to be whipped for dishonoring himself by having S relations with a black individual. In 1662, the Virginia House denounced S relations between Christians, palm color individuals, and black people, whom were defined as black at the time. Shortly after, Maryland banned interracial marriages, and by the 1690s, the Virginia House had defined interracial children as an issue to be dealt with. Now, correspondingly, beginning in the 1700s, the term mulatto was used as a way to ensure the continuance of slavery. Mulattoes were those defined by having a palm color parent and a black parent. And under the legal structure of the time, mulattoes were presumed to be slaves despite any palm color blood. At the same time, the colonists felt the need to combat indigenous identities, which threatened their ability to settle land. Hence, the Virginia colony was also the first to adopt a blood quantum law, established to state that any indigenous individual who was less than half Indian was in fact not Indian and could thus not claim any rights to their land. The one-drop rule was used to increase the amount of black people effectively supporting slavery, whereas the blood quantum law was used to decrease the amount of indigenous people effectively clearing land claims for palm color expansion and erasing indigenous identity. Now, being perceived as belonging or not belonging to a particular group can affect well-being. An organization might categorize a multiracial person a certain way for diversity quotas, for instance, but if she does not identify with that minority, the categorization may make her feel constrained or stereotyped. Previous research in America has focused almost exclusively on how palm color people regard biracial people and has shown that they tend to categorize those of mixed race as belonging to the racial category of their minority parent. Now, it is said that the research has found that overall, both races view black palm color biracial people as slightly more black than palm color, but palm color and black people appear to differ in why they might classify biracial people this way. Palm color people who classify biracial people as more black tend to hold more anti-egalitarian views, while black people who classify biracial people as more black show the opposite pattern, tending to be more in favor of equality between groups. Now, the classification of biracial people as black is tied to the legacy of R to the 6 laws that relied on the so-called one-drop rule, which dictated that even a tiny amount of black ancestry meant a person was considered black. Now, the one-drop rule, a relic of a bygone era, continues to cast a long shadow over our society. Despite the progress that has been made, the echoes of this outdated rule still persist, influencing how we perceive and categorize individuals based on their racial identity. Now, a poignant remark from a biracial woman drives this point home. I identify as black because I know palm color people don't see me as palm color. And these words are a reminder that even today, the one-drop rule's legacy continues to shape experiences and perceptions. The fact that this woman feels compelled to identify as black, not because of her own self-identification, but because of how others perceive her, is a powerful indictment of our society's ongoing struggle with racial identity. It highlights how the one-drop rule's arbitrary distinctions continue to influence attitudes and interactions. Now, I can't really comment on this because I am not biracial. I don't know the experiences that biracial people have or face, but I am calling out biracial people to be part of this conversation as well and just share their experiences and thoughts on this topic. And if you're not biracial, you can also just share your thoughts as well in the comment section so that we can have a conversation about this. What do you think is going to happen to biracial kids? Where do you take your kids to? Which schools do you take your kids to? Which hospitals do your kids need to go to? All those things. So share your thoughts, your views on what you think about this in the comment section. Thank you for always watching and see you in our next video as we bring you another video.